Hello, welcome to Record Time. Record Time is a weekly Akashic experience where we explore simple and mysterious themes through the lens of the Akashic Records. My name is Mina, and I'm so happy to be here with you. If you're brand new, welcome, and if you're an old friend, welcome back. And if you're unsure what the Akashic Records are, I invite you to check out my website, minaruchi.com, and there I have all kinds of things explaining what the records are, what a reading is. You can watch me give a live reading for my friend there. So there's also a lot of free goodies there waiting for you. So that's a fun place to dive into if you're curious. But for right now, if it's safe and accessible, I invite you to take a moment to settle into where you are right now. And maybe that includes closing your eyes if you're able to, and meeting your breath where it's at and where it wants to be. Maybe it's a deep inhale or exhale. Maybe it includes relaxing your shoulders, relaxing the muscles in your face. Noticing if you're holding any tightness in your belly, and allowing it to soften. And just bringing your awareness to right now. How you're breathing, how you're feeling, how you are right now. So, this week's point of curiosity is the simple guidance that I think we've all often heard, and maybe we've told ourselves of: follow what excites you, do what excites you. And I'd love to kind of explore that through the space of the records. And they're acknowledging what organic guidance that is, of in some ways it makes so much sense to, when you hear that or if you feel that, follow what excites you. Yeah, that makes so much sense. Why wouldn't you do that? And then on the other hand, there's all the reasons that you wouldn't do that. All of the practical things that get in the way of actually living by that, philosophy. And there's deep acknowledgement of the records of the almost sense of yearning that one might have towards wanting to do that. Oh, I wish I could just follow what excites me all the time. And the organic resonance of that, of oh, how, yeah, that is on some level the most natural way of existing, of just following what feels good, following what excites us one moment at a time, and letting that thread of excitement be the guiding light that lets our lives unfold in deep alignment with purpose and desire and enthusiasm and all of those wonderful things. And they're acknowledging, so many of us are not really in a position to let that be the overarching philosophy of how we do every single thing, or even the big things in our lives. And they're recognizing that and validating that experience of like, yeah, maybe in like the big pieces of your life, you can't do what excites you. Like maybe you have a job where you can't just do what excites you in every moment of the day because you have things to do and people to report to and projects to get done and whatever. And also just acknowledging like, yeah, there are aspects of life just generally that don't feel exciting that need tending to, and not like letting those get neglected either in this like chase for following excitement, or almost like a like overindulgent, and it's like it feels like eating something like too much sugar or something. It's like, yeah, we can't always just follow what feels good necessarily, and not using following our excitement as like a excuse to neglect things that need tending to. So there's so much nuance in this, and there's validity in all these different perspectives. And they're saying, so yes, like perhaps in these big aspects of life, like how we spend, if we work, like that's a huge chunk of our day and our time and our lives of like, yeah, and maybe we can't follow our excitement there and it's just not possible. Maybe even at home, there are obligations and things that need tending that prevent us from having the freedom to follow what feels good all of the time. And that's like, of course, very true if you're like a parent or a caregiver of any kind. So then what do we do? What do we do if we have these big portions of our day, of our lives, that aren't conducive to this philosophy of following what feels good? And it's tempting to think like, oh, I guess that's not for me. Like, I don't have the privilege of following what feels good. And I guess it's not for me. I guess enthusiasm isn't for me. I don't have the time for that. I don't have the resources for that. I don't have the luxury or the privilege to follow what feels good all the time. And they're acknowledging that that absolutely is a privilege, and that not everyone has the time and resources and ability to do that. And yet, it doesn't have to be this binary thing of like, you're either a person that follows what feels good and follows their excitement, or it's just not for you and you have obligations and responsibilities to tend to and there's no excitement left for you. Too bad, so sad. There's a way to kind of like bridge the gap. And that's what we're kind of exploring here. And maybe even like you've been, and there's like innocence in that too. Maybe you do think like, oh, it's not for me, and maybe even scoff at it. Like people who think that or say that, like, oh, must be nice. Like I wish I could do that, or like what a silly idea to just follow what feels good all the time. That's not practical. And so if that's you, maybe you're a little jaded around that or feel a certain way about that, and that's totally like valid and fine and good, and you can think whatever you want. And I like fully see where that's coming from. But if in tandem with that kind of must be nice kind of vibe, if there's also like, I wish I could do that, like it would be nice, like it would be nice to do that. They're saying what you can start to do is maybe all you have is 5 minutes a day to yourself. And can you create a little container for yourself, a little space, a little playground, where in those 5 minutes, you take the time to inquire, how do I feel right now? And what would feel good right now? What feels exciting right now? And exciting is a relative term. It's subjective, because if you're doing this, maybe the only time you have is at the end of a very long day. And so excitement, maybe you're tired and nothing feels like super exciting and energizing, but is there a little kindling, a little flame of desire of what would feel good right now? And so maybe in those 5 minutes, it's just as simple as tuning into what would feel good and doing it for 5 minutes, following what feels good. And in this way, kind of engaging with this idea of I deserve to feel good. And in some sense, kind of reconnecting to maybe in another time and place what was the most natural way of existing, which was, of course, I would follow what feels good. It makes so much sense. Why would I do anything else? And kind of letting yourself go into that space, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day. And maybe that looks like part of a creative practice of like, I'm just gonna let, like holding a pencil and paper or whatever it is that you have, and like letting yourself find what's exciting right now. Maybe you end up writing something, maybe you end up drawing something, or just making an abstract little doodle, whatever that means. So it's like you can take this to a creative practice of some sort, or you can just hold it as like a simple practice of personal connection, connecting to yourself once a day, connecting to your own excitement, to your own pleasure, to your own enthusiasm once a day. And if you're someone that has been so disconnected from this kind of way of being, maybe you're like, I don't even know what excites me. I don't even know what would feel good. I don't know how to do that in 5 minutes. I don't know how to do that in my life because that's not how I live. And so if you've been divorced from this idea of following your enthusiasm, it might even seem like an impossible task to kind of tune into that. Maybe you don't feel excitement. Maybe you feel apathetic a lot of the time. And this includes you. This is also for you. This practice includes you, where maybe for 5 minutes, it's not tuning in and then doing the thing that feels good. Maybe it's just holding the space. And if like asking your deep self or the universe or a higher power or something, asking something or someone out there that you would like support for this intention, like I want to feel connected to my excitement. And I'm holding this intention for 5 minutes. And I'm sitting in what it feels like to be in the absence of excitement right now. But it's like still like committing to devoting some time and space, creating a sacred container for excitement to come in. And so maybe those 5 minutes are where your excitement has room to play for 5 minutes and lead you for 5 minutes. Or maybe it's like this, the quiet space where you just hold and wait for the excitement that was lost somewhere along the way to come back, to resurface, to reemerge from somewhere. And it's just like reverently, almost in silence, is saying, I'm holding this space for you whenever, if ever you want to come back to me. I'm waiting. I'm taking these 5 minutes are for you if you want to come back and play and guide me. There's room for you. And you can imagine it too as like, if excitement or enthusiasm is something that has been gone or out of your like frame of reference, out of your daily experience for a long time, maybe it's never been part of your experience, you could think of it as like, it might take time for it to travel from far away, from wherever it was lost or from wherever it was born from. If it was never part of how you have experienced life, it might take a long time to come to you, to find you again. And so taking these 5 minutes a day to just hold the intention of like, I'm waiting for you and I'm waiting to meet you and I want you here. I want to feel excitement, holding that intention in that space. that's a wonderful place to begin. And to like hold and to let that container of 5 minutes be a space for what apathy feels like, to feel into and to acknowledge and be with the fact or the experience that right now I have no excitement and I don't know where it is and I have no idea what that would feel like, and to just be with that and to honor that with the same level of reverence that you would honor the excitement if and when it shows up again. So that's where I'm going to leave you for today. And I would love to know if you spend some time doing this practice or contemplating this idea, how it goes for you, what comes up for you, what is your relationship to your own excitement right now? Do you feel like you have the space and the practice of following your excitement, or is it something that you're not so familiar with, that might be brand new to you, that you're exploring now? I'd love to know where you're at. So feel free to send me a message or write me an email or comment on this video if you feel like sharing your thoughts with me. And until next time, I'm wishing you well. Namaste.